that look like it's designed, or it's an accident?
Very intelligent.
In the book, they talk about homology, which means things look alike. You know, they talk about the bat wing and all this kind of stuff. But basically, evolutionists believe that is self-evident proof for descent from a common ancestor. Just by knowing that we all have 5 fingers and birds have 5 fingers and bats have 5 fingers, that proves evolution. Okay. And then everything else that they can't say is, and it also assumes that there was a descent from a common ancestor, and when these patterns are found in different areas, in different organisms, they call it a homoplasy or convergent evolution, which means I can't explain it, but I'm going to say it happened somewhere else too. Okay, it's called special pleading. Okay? But they always reject an intelligent designer. And here's the example of this proves evolution, right? Observational science says common design. You can look at it. It's a design. It's a pattern. Faith statement, common ancestors. Here's another one, okay? You see this one all the time. It's never represented anywhere, but it's a imagined common descent. And it's evolution's religious icon. Okay? That is the religious icon of evolution. It's not Jesus with the, on the cross, or the Virgin Mary and the child on her lap. That's their religious icon. And then I'm going to send you the link, and you can go through this because it's getting late. But they said, okay, the chance of self-assembly is just crazy. But if we take a look at the the embryonic development, if we can tweak the way the master genes develop, the critters, us, then in the embryo, then we can have a chicken hatch a dinosaur. Okay, that it actually happens in the embryological development. But after lots of research, they find out that's just another dead end. So you can't tweak the master genes and start out with an ape and end up with a human. It just won't work that way. Because they're different. The master genes control different things, believe it or not. You would think the master genes, since we all have the same pattern, the pattern is exactly the same in the embryo, but it isn't. Different master genes control different portions. Overlapping, but different portions, so it's not straightforward. And my conclusion is God has a sense of humor because the more they dig into it, the worse it gets. And until the early 2000s, this pattern on the top, where Haeckel's embryological development is called ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, which means that everybody, all critters go through the same evolutionary trail during embryology. So that other evolution, Evo-Devo, is just a rehash of this, and on the bottom line are real embryos. Okay, so and here's one more thing, cladistics. That's how it used to be. You looked at things, you say, oh, it's got 5 fingers. Everything with 5 fingers, that's in one species. Okay. That's called morphology. Now they use genes and they say, well, we can track the genes and we can organize them. By looking at genes, we can reclassify organisms by the way they evolved. And Dawkins says it's amazing consistency, but actually it results in different clades or organizations. For instance, if you look at morphology, humans are close to chimps. If you look at the Y chromosome, we're very close to chickens. And if you look at their enzyme compatibility, we're close to pigs, and that's why we get pig hearts in our vowels.
Amazing.
Right? And here's the whale clade, and it starts off with this. This is actually a thing that looks like a dog, okay? And all this other stuff is really imaginary. They've got bits and pieces of bones that they've classified, and we'll get into that one day. It presupposes evolution and homology. And the whales appear at the tips, okay? And all these trees of life, the only thing that you see are at the tips, which is either an extinct animal or a living animal, and everything else is an imaginary linkage. And they're questionable links and supposed ancestors. Nobody really
But they're based on things that they know are of unlike.
Yeah, well, they say they look at
hips.
the form, and the form kind of looks the same. There's some things about it that look like maybe an ancient whale, maybe not. Like this forms into that, and that forms into this. But in the fossil record, you really can't tell the birth certificates. It's just a collection of bones.
Oh, okay.
And it's all questionable, but it's religion. They've got to find the path, right? They're trying to connect the dots. However, the newer whale clade places the whale as evolving from the hippo. Not this thing. So, I mean, geez. But I've got a better one. This is the truck clade. It starts out with the unicycle. Okay, the horn was added for singling. Okay, errors accumulate while copying the original assembly instructions and parts list from the unicycle. And over time, these errors introduce new information describing how to add new features. Okay, so imagine I'm going to copy the assembly instructions and the parts list, and I make mistakes copying, and I make mistakes copying, and I make mistakes copying, and the factory keeps using these mistaken instructions, and eventually I end up with a truck. Will that happen in the real world? No. That is evolution. That's the story of evolution. Is that kind of an accurate representation of what we've been saying? Mutations are mistakes. So, common design or common descent. What you pick.
You made it down.
I actually like that other one better. So now I know where my truck came from.
Exactly. Homology is a theological argument, and anyway, it goes on and on. Oh yeah, for next week, we're going to look at chapter 7 next week. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
We're 3 minutes late, so you're going to keep going.